Hello and welcome to Ready Set Demo from Elizabeth's Craft Room. This video is to give you a little bit more information on how I run with product classes and why I run with product classes. Some of you will have heard me say this before. I'm in my 10th year as a UK demonstrator, and 4.5 years ago, just over, I went full time. At that time, I knew I am the main breadwinner with my Stampin' Up business, so I knew I had to increase my business. And how I did that was to include with product classes, or as my customers know them as special classes. I put in one most months. I usually do about 8 a year. So I put in a with product class 8 times a year, and I doubled my business without really getting many more new customers. I've done that since as well, that does continue to grow because the with product classes get goodies into our customers' hands. If you do a regular class, as I also do, people can come along, make things and go home, and never go home with Stampin' Up product. So if that's happening to you, this is another way to get those goodies into their hands, have some leftovers for them to take home and play with at home, and that makes them be a home crafter as well as a class crafter. And we all know that when we're crafting, we suddenly realise, oh, and I need this punch, and I need this other thing, this stamp, this colour, the ink, and so it kind of then helps to build your business. So there's kind of those two reasons as to why a with product class will really increase the profitability of your Stampin' Up business. Okay, so you can design your own with product classes. What are you aiming to do when you design it? Well, for me, what I'm looking for is a wow project. I'm looking for one item at least within that class that makes people go, oh wow, I want to do that, I want to make that. These are some of my, recent and upcoming classes that I am doing. And so people sort of see that, so they see there's a stationery box here, look, that opens up, there's a little stationery inside it, and they say, I want to make that. And that inspires them to spend more on a class than they would for a regular class. So to give you a kind of a ballpark figure, my regular classes cost £10 in the UK, and these special classes cost about £28 is my standard price. So just under 3 times as much. The classes are usually about an hour longer, so 3 hours instead of 2. And they include in the region of £20 worth of Stampin' Up product. Now I'll go into that a little bit later. So you can go ahead and design a wow project, maybe with some cards and things as well, or maybe the cards themselves are wow projects if they're fancy folds. If you don't have time to do that, I can help you out there because I offer these classes as an online class for you, so that you can then go and teach them. So I can save you that design time if you are interested in that. Look at the classes tab on Ready Set Demo and you will see those classes, and they are available to purchase. All sorts of different ones. We've got technique ones, and we've got wow projects like this, and fancy folds and all sorts of other things. When you're thinking about what you're going to include in your with product class, that is quite important as well. Sometimes it might depend on your particular clientele. I have mostly in the past gone with consumables. So for example, in this project here, which is a memory book / perpetual calendar, I decided to include all consumables. So there's no stamps included when they came to this class. But what was included was all the card stock that they would need to make it, and half a pack of the designer paper. They had 4 of the little trinkets. They had half a pack of the memories and more cards. They had a meter of ribbon. They had 4 note cards because we made little note cards as well. So they had 4 note cards and envelopes. They had 4 meters of the baker's twine. They had half a pack of designer elements, which are little round elements that you'll find on the bling page. And I also included the price of a meter of tear and tape. I also made sure that I included the Whisper White that I was going to print the months on for those that were doing a perpetual calendar. Don't miss out things like that, and envelopes, and make sure you include the prices of all of those. So I make myself a little list, and on the list I list everything that the class is going to include, and I work out what the cost is to me as a demonstrator with my demonstrator discount. And then I work out, I also have down what the value is. So that is the difference between what I pay as a demo and what my customers would see the cost of that item is in the book. For my special classes, my with product classes, I work this out every single time. For my regular classes, I work it out from time to time to make sure, or if I think, oh goodness, this one's got a lot of ribbon and bling in it, I just make sure that I'm making my profit. And so I then work out, so when I say to my customers that the value of this class here was actually £21.32. So I will say this is in excess of £21 of goodies that they will get. But my actual cost is only £17. So that means that I will make the difference between that in profit. So if I charge it at £28 and it's costing me 17, I'm making £11 per person. Now I know that's a load of numbers, which might make my head burst, but it is worth actually working out the value for your customers so you can tell them, and the cost to you so you know what your profit is going to be. Other things to bear in mind when you're working out your profit. Are you teaching at home like me, or are you teaching in a hall? If you're teaching in a hall, you need to include the cost of the hall when you decide on the price of your class. I teach my class multiple times. So I taught this one 3 times. So it's more in hours for me, but I didn't have to pay for a hall. You might choose to pay for a hall, but then you only teach it once. And so it's kind of horses for courses. If you offer drinks and snacks at your classes, you need to include those in your costs. I don't. I'm very mean. I decided right at the beginning that I was just going to spend the time teaching, and so I've never offered drinks at a class. I do, of course, if I'm doing a party or a workshop, that's a different thing, or a celebration like a launch, I obviously do drinks and snacks then. But for my regular classes and my special classes, they know if they want a drink, they bring a bottle of water. One other thought on pricing your class. You'll see, as I mentioned, that with this one, it's costing me about £17 and I'm charging the class at £28. That's also paying me to do all the prep, because I prep my classes completely. Everything is cut and scored. They are sticking and stamping and are doing all the fun bits. So I have, I will have 2 prep days for a big, a very big class. It pays me a little bit for my design time, and it pays me for my teaching time. So I never do a class for free, or very rarely do I do a class for free. I will add on some money. I will add on, in this case, it was £11 per person that I was adding for my time. If you're actually trying to make your minimums this month, or you are trying to reach a particular goal, that might be a time to take less for yourself within the class, make the class a little bit cheaper, maybe get a higher attendance for the class. That's kind of another way to look at it. Also, be aware of your customers. If your customer base won't reach for the higher amount, then you can do something that is a little bit cheaper. However, I would say don't underestimate what people are prepared to pay. I made this mistake for a long time thinking, oh, my ladies will never pay £28. Well, they do. And Occasionally, when I've had something where I've included a lot more product, they pay more. Other things that you might like to include. You might like to include a stamp set in the class. I have been very successful with classes where I've given an upgrade, and this is going back to that, don't underestimate them. So do a class that includes a stamp set, but tell them they can upgrade and they can have the bundled item with it, so dies or a punch. You can show the fact that they're getting the 10% discount. So you tell them the price of the punch less the 10% of the bundle, and that looks like a real bargain. It is a real bargain. And so quite often my customers will say, oh, I'll go for the upgrade. I'll go for the upgrade if there's an upgrade option. So that's another way that you can price your classes. Another area of earnings that you must remember when you are doing a with product class is your hostess benefits. If you are doing a class that has a value of £25 in product, for example, and you have 6 people coming to class, you obviously then get hostess benefits. So you're going to get £15 worth of free goodies. That might pay for the stamp set that you're using, because obviously you need to provide some of the goodies yourself. The bigger your class is, the more hostess benefits that you're going to be getting. And that also obviously helps your business to be profitable. Added to that, you'll get volume rebate. So the more you sell during the month, the more volume rebate you will get. So again, that's another way of another part of building your business. And finally, the thing to remember is the more you sell, if you have a team, the more team commission you earn as well. So all of those things added together really give a big boost to your business when you run with product classes. Right, so some tips on teaching a with product class. The first one I have is make sure that if your class includes the stamp set, your lovely ladies and gents, if you have them, bring their blocks. There's no point having the stamp and not having the block. And allow a little bit of time for them to mount the stamps if you're using a cling stamp set. So allow a little bit of time at the beginning of the class for them to mount up the stamps that they're going to be using. If they've got their own stamps or product of various sorts, maybe a tool or something, it does mean that the class will go quicker. So for example, I did a Stamparatus class and they all had their own Stamparatus. It would have taken a lot longer to teach if they didn't all have their own equipment. What I tend to do is I split my class, in my case, into 2 groups. So I will have 2 groups of 6, and if we're doing various projects, I will try and make sure that we can rotate the stamps. So for example, if I'm not including stamps in a class, and therefore I'm providing the stamps, I don't have to buy 2 stamp sets. I can have one project on one table and one project on the other table, and then we switch over. And it just means that I don't have to spend as much on the base product for the class because I only need one set of everything. I do sometimes do a little bit of running backwards and forwards with a punch or something that they need on both tables, but it keeps my steps in, so that's all good. I buy 12 by 12 clear bags from Amazon, you know, like the little Ziploc type ones. And I put all the product in that they are not using for the class. So if we've got leftover designer series paper and other things like that, it all goes into that pack, and that's all laid out for them on the table, along with, you know, if there's a reel of ribbon or some bling, and it all looks very pretty as well when it's all laid out. As far as the things they're actually using in the class, I have those all in packs according to the project. So if we're making 6 projects, I've got 6 packs, and I put the packs out on the table when they're making the project. That means there's not so much confusion with people having to go into their own packs and try and find the piece of paper that they need. It all kind of works a lot better when it's like that. I also label everything. So when I put things into bags, I will label, you know, DSP for the front of the card, cardstock for I'll put for punching or for stamping and punch greeting, and I'll just sort of write bits on there. It means if I'm not at the table, if I'm at the other table, they can see what it is that they're doing. I do demonstrate anything, of course, that's a little bit more complicated. In terms of prep, I cut and score pretty much everything before the class, so that they are not doing the dull bit. They are doing the fun bit, and they like that. And they get through the classes quicker that way. When your ladies finish a with product class, make sure you take a picture. Do ask, of course. It's a really nice thing to actually have a photo of them with their finished projects and their smiley faces, of course, because they're delighted that they've made them. It will help you with your social media and your advertising for the next time that you do a with product class. So I mentioned the photos, so how do I advertise my classes? Right, well, I am a traditional class-based demonstrator, so I actually do see most of my customers once a month when they come to their regular classes. They come on the first 2 weeks of the month, and on the second Thursday, which is my last regular class date, I will then order for my special class, which is on the last week of the month. That allows me enough time to order, have the delivery and prep for the class before I start teaching on the Tuesday of the last week of the month. So I show them what they're going to make, I show them what they're going to get, and that's when I get my bookings. If you are wanting to share these kind of classes online, which some of my team do, some of my team use Facebook and Instagram and their blogs. I do use those things as well. But what you do need to remember if you're doing that is take nice pictures, show what it is they're making, the same as my ladies see in the flesh. They need to see that online. They need to know when it is, where it is, how much it is, what it includes, how long it lasts, and how experienced they need to be in order to do it. So encourage them to say, suitable for beginner and experienced crafters, if that is the case. So encourage them to think they can do it. You need your contact details so they can get in touch and book. And most importantly, and this is the case for my classes as well, is they need to pay in advance. Because you are ordering product, it's not like a regular class. You might allow them to come and do it. I always actually get payment in advance for everything, but you really must make sure when you're investing in product that you do get payment in advance, and explain to them that it's not cancelable, that if they can't come to the class, they can have the pack of goodies, or if you have time, you can offer to make up the projects for them. And that's generally what I do. That's how I've always run my classes, and I would certainly suggest you do that. Now, if you do have any questions, although I can't give one-to-one coaching to everybody, put a question down in the comments if you do have any questions, and I will try and answer them, and then everybody can see the questions and the answers. So if you do have any further questions, I would highly encourage you to do with product classes. As I say, it doubled my business, and it continues to be a core part of what makes my business successful. So give with product classes a try. If you want to do it without the fuss and bother of having to design anything, have a look at my classes tab, and you can see lots of class ideas that you can buy for a reasonable price to just save you all the bother of the design bit. And you can still go ahead and be successful in your business. Thanks for visiting Ready Set Demo from Elizabeth's Craft Room today.